Hello, this is Sheshachalam from Astroguide Mysore. Today, let us understand how Mercury reacts and what are the results that a person gets when Mercury is in the 8th house. So, we all know that Mercury is a very fast moving planet, it's a sharp planet, it's the planet of intellect, that is Buddhi. So, that is why it's called Buddha. So, being such a fast moving planet and with such sharp intellect, if it is sitting in the sign of occult, if the sign of longevity, the sign of desire, the sign of litigations, what might happen? So let us understand one by one. First of all, the 8th house is the most important house to understand the desire of a person. How actually it will, come up, and from what are the influences of the 8th house which actually prompt the desires to you know spurt out of the person's personality, and it some most of the times the desires will be contained, because if you see, if there are slow moving planets and dark planets like Saturn, slow moving planets like Jupiter, the person will take time to tell about his desire to, he will not even have the strength to, or he will not want to opinionate in front of everybody. He doesn't want to reveal. But Mercury is the planet which actually exposes everything. So, a person who has Mercury in the 8th house would openly discuss about his desire. He will debate, he will have a logical conclusion as to this is what he wants to achieve in life, and this is what is right from his perspective, from his point. So, the desire to excel and acquire the best will be there throughout life in the Mercury, when Mercury is in the 8th. They are very aggressive and they explore the unexplored, and they would want to achieve the unachieved. They would want to make something, a mark in the society, telling that yes, I have done something, please make a note of it. 8th house is for dark secrets. So when Mercury is in the 8th house, a person, if it is badly posited, now I am talking about a bad position of Mercury. Earlier it was a good position of Mercury, that a person wants to excel. So now if it is in a bad position, a person will hide his real instincts, and there might be something, some ulterior motives. A person might become a con expert, an expert in uh, making companies fail, robbing somebody from his um, richness, making some manipulations in the documents. All these types of work happens when Mercury is negatively posited in the 8th house. A person will have a desire to usurp money, to take away. So these are huge negatives. But the positives are also very big. Like a person wants to, he can become a very good advocate, he can excel in advocacy, he can debate and win arguments. So when it is positive, Mercury gives very good results in the 8th, and if it is negative, God bless, that is a very tough position. So children are intellectual, very good, brilliance they are having, because it is the Putra Sukha Sthana, that is the 4th from the 5th. So if I take the 5th house, then I count 5, 6, 7, 8. So that is the 8th house. So Putra Sukha Sthana, Mercury is there, less number of children, but intellectual children. The problems of the Dehakasta Yoga when planets sit in the 6th and the 8th house will continue here also when Mercury sits in the 8th house. People might go through sciatica, the problem of the nervous system when the prolapse happens in the backbone, when the lower backbones, the L1, L2, L3, L4, these bones, when they start, one of them prolapses and comes out, and what happens is the nerve which actually is passing through will get you know, jammed, and the motor nerves, when they get jammed, you know what happens to the limbs. So they start not performing well. You have excruciating pain, and suddenly you feel the dullness and the, the numbness in the limb, that is the legs. So that happens when Mercury is in the eighth house, badly posited. I am not talking about a good position here once again. So let us say Mercury is along with Rahu and Saturn in the eighth house. It is not a good combination. So longevity is good if it is well posited, and it is a happy longevity, very less health problems if it is well posited, like it gives rise to a Vipreet Raj Yoga, or it is very well posited with a benefic like Jupiter or Moon. It's good. But the problem is when Moon is in the eighth house, once again there will be something like, people will be suffering with minor problems on a repeated level. But if it is only Mercury, let us say with Jupiter, it's a beautiful position to be in the eighth house for making a lot of wealth. A person can make immense wealth. I have discussed about a millionaire chart, accountant chart. I think you people can understand. I think there is Jupiter in the eighth house. So, if it is negatively posited in the eighth house, the person can, because it's a fast moving planet, the person can go through repetitive illnesses, repetitive operations, and problems. Eighth house is also for litigation, and because of this problems of litigation, when Mercury is there in the eighth and it is well posited, then we can say that the person can win over his enemies in the same way as that he is winning battles in the court. So it's not that nowadays people fight on the battleground. Now they fight in the court. They want justice. So justice prevails when Mercury is well posited in the eighth house, and the reverse happens, that the justice is not good. He goes through losses if it is badly posited in the eighth house. He will keep roaming around for justice. He will not get it, and he will fail, and he will go through a lot of losses and difficulties. So when it comes to satisfactory completion of a court case, or to get exonerated from allegations, or even to get a peaceful settlement of some bad happening in the society, like coming out of humiliation, all this can happen if Mercury is well posited in the eighth house, and it is extremely difficult for a person to come out of all this if it is badly posited in the eighth house. So it gives continuous motivation, as eighth house is one of the strongest house when compared to any other house, and that is why it is very difficult to understand the eighth house. And from the Upachaya sthanas, if we count from the Upachaya sthanas, the other Upachaya sthanas, that is from the third house, if I count, let us say 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it is the sixth from the third house. The third house is known for activity of a person. It is in what way he will want to work, and the eighth house suggests as to how he wants to do it, in which what are the ways and means that a person would search to perform his activity and would be happy in doing it. So that is the eighth house, and when Mercury is there, that is the Upachaya sthana from another Upachaya sthana, that is the sixth from the third house, excellent service can be done. And these people, after a certain part of their life, suddenly, let us say this is their 100% of life, they would have made wealth for most part of their life, and when they come to the rest of their life, they suddenly become very magnanimous. They do a lot of charity, they become good to people, they are excellent in service. So a lot of good charity happens. So this is when Mercury is well posited, and when it is negatively posited, they usurp a lot of money in the first half or major part of their life, and the rest of their life they become deserted, they go under utter loss. This is when it is negatively posited. So they become homeless. So they need charity now. So they can't give charity. They are now like helpless. They need charity. They have done all the karmas, bad karmas, and they go through a lot of punishment. But the other way around, when it is very well posited, they make a lot of money, a money which a person would be, would envy that much of money, and they will spend it on very good deeds like having to do lot of social good work, you know, so like that. So they always want the center stage. They want the social acceptance, social recognition. They love to be felicitated. They will love to be recognized as the people who have made a change in the society. So Mercury is like a person who wants to chart, the uncharted roads, and he will try to do something out of the books, because it is the brain which actually works there. And people who are doing excellent research into innovations, innovative technology, because Mercury is technology, Mercury is electronics, Mercury comes into power sector, Mercury comes into robotics, aviation, space technology, many things which are new. So all these new sciences come under Mercury. The old ones, that the spiritual sciences, the other sciences are all under Saturn, Sun, and Jupiter. But Mercury means that all that is new, like nanotechnology, biotechnology. You know, there's so many things now. Even modern agriculture is nowadays attached to Mercury, because that is new science. So thank you very much for today's class.